Good evening. Welcome to Pod 9. We are back after a couple week hiatus. I was able to go up to Madison, watch a few of the team's Badgers play, got my posters up on the wall. So we're starting to fill that sucker in back there. Starting to look good.
Yeah.
Handful of topics to go over today. Nothing too dramatic happened since we've been gone. A few developments are underway. A couple of leagues kicked off and off and running. We can mention those, give recaps on those, updates on those leagues, and also talk about the one development that just happened last night. That's basically the biggest thing that's gone on last couple of weeks, and that is the WNBA Players Association's decision to opt out of their CBA, their collective bargaining agreement, which was originally signed to go through 2021. They decided to opt out and will not affect the 2019 season,
Right.
but it is necessary to get something taken care of before the 2020 season.
Yeah.
We both know the reasons why they are looking for something different, right? It's obviously the equality of pay, really, with for professional athletes of their stature, earning what is theirs from the league's revenue, and that's what the big kicker is going to be to get a new CBA signed. So, with that in mind, are there any surprises here with this opt out, in your opinion?
Not really, in my opinion. That's pretty much what I expected from them.
Yeah, you were the one. What you texted me today, and I hadn't seen the news until you texted me that.
Mhm.
So I asked you even what you meant. I was so out of the loop as far as what was going on, opting out of the CBA. And yeah, it was. I think I just said okay, good, because there was no
Right.
surprise, right? This is, in my opinion, a no brainer to opt out of this
Yep.
to get the ball rolling on something new. A couple years before this one runs out, okay, it's not good anyway. From
Right.
what needs to happen, there have been multiple quotes, multiple interviews where the players are saying the reasons why they're doing this, because they're trying to get this league established. It's time for that next step, just like what we were talking about as far as who's the next president or commissioner that
Yep.
gets hired, right? It's time for the next step, and this is just another instance of
Right.
that.
Right. And I think finding that new president, commissioner, however you want to phrase it or give the title, it was kind of the first step when Lisa kind of was like, "I'm moving on." That was kind of the first step that you knew something was going to happen with them opting out this fall, and that it was just kind of the second step of, okay, we're moving towards change, this is happening, so let's just all get on board with that. We're going to make this change and let's make it for the better and keep moving the league forward.
Lisa Borders, um, now ex-president of the WNBA, came from a financial background.
Mhm.
How does this how does this play out? I mean, trying to think about maybe reading between the lines. It's maybe odd that she has backed out at this time, right? I assume this decision by the Players Association wasn't spur of the moment.
Right.
It's probably been in the works for
Yeah.
a couple months at the least,
Yeah.
right? Lisa
Right.
Borders just resigned a month ago, right?
Yeah,
So
somewheres ar
yeah, she had to have been around and probably heard rumblings of this. Do you read into that at all, that she either avoided this situation? I don't know. It just, now thinking about it, it seems odd that
right.
someone with her background and her dedication to this league and the success that she had, that she wouldn't want to hang around and help push this forward.
Yeah, I think the way I'm reading into it is that she didn't think that she was the person to be in charge for this change. I didn't really see too much of necessarily taking initiative and saying, "Hey, we belong here. This is us. This is what we're doing. This is worth investing in. These are valuable players, valuable people. So let's invest in them." I didn't really see that from her, more or less a backbone from her. Kind of saw her in the, "You guys are great, kind of the happy go lucky versus being more of the business person." So I think that's how at least that's how I'm taking it
Mhm.
as of right now, but I can see where you're coming from in terms of maybe she was just like, "Let me get out of here before all of this kinda starts."
Yeah, interesting to think about. And that, yeah, like I said, that's just something I just thought of. So
Right.
we'll keep our eye on that. Keep our eye on the
Mhm.
CBA, the quotes that come from the players. If anybody says anything from the other side, I haven't
Yeah.
seen any quotes from the opposition.
Mhm.
That'll be there's got to be somebody out there, right? That'll be
Yeah.
saying that they're getting what they deserve now. Let's not
Yeah.
change anything.
Yeah.
It's working well. So there was an article that, and I didn't send this to you.
Mhm.
No, a lot to expand on tonight, but an article talking about the different titles. Are they going to hire a WNBA president or a WNBA commissioner? It might have been from ESPN. And
Mhm.
like I said, not a whole lot to dive into from the
Right.
articles. I didn't send it to you, but it was
Yeah.
interesting. They were asking the same thing that we
Yeah.
thought about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stealing our ideas, no big problem.
That's right. So let's stay in the basketball realm, assuming that you have your picks ready, your draft board ready.
Yeah.
Something we did last year is we went back and forth, snake draft, got four teams, our four picks to make it to the final four. Throughout the year, we were able to drop a team and pick up a free agent team, and that was the four we rode with. It works out to where, and we'll probably do the same thing this year. Where once I get involved with softball, we'll probably just drop this for the season. So
Mhm.
we'll wind up running into that late February timeframe. So we probably won't make it into March Madness, but it's something we can still keep track of. Go ahead and draft today. We'll see how it runs throughout the season. So, did you go first, or did I go first last year?
I went first last year, so you're going first this year.
So I'm going first this year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait, hold on before. Are we doing it like last year, how you could pick kind of they were the top teams. You had, your top 4 or 5 were really they were the top teams, and then everybody else just kinda dropped off. So are we picking one from outside of that? Do we have to include outside of that, if you understand what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and that in your question sort of leads into a point that I was going to make before I made my first pick. In that
Mhm.
this season, I mean, there could be a lot of
Yeah.
turnover, right? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
just an example number one is the preseason
Some
rankings. Who's
rankings.
number one,
Yep,
right?
exactly.
Not
Yep.
not UConn,
Yeah.
right? So that tells you right there that something's going to be different about this season.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, Connecticut didn't win the championship last year,
Yeah.
but still, your preseason ranking, okay, UConn's number one. Who's number
Yeah.
two is the question at that point. This year, that's not the case. And they're
Yep.
number one. And then we've lost plenty of talent. A UCLA team and a Pac-12
Yeah.
conference that is wide open behind an Oregon team that's a heavy favorite in that division,
Yeah.
and we'll get into a conversation there later. I have a team in mind that could move up in those rankings. So I'd say the whole country's open just
Yeah.
because of that. I don't know if
Mhm.
there is an upper tier, so to say, this
Yeah.
year.
Good point.
Well, you're going to have your powerhouses, I think.
Right.
But at the same time, I think you could easily see teams like, well, like a DePaul. I know DePaul's
Mhm. Mhm.
those mid majors who have always hung around.
Right.
Maybe one of them step up. We saw a Buffalo team go far last year, and they're heavy favorites again out of the MAC. How much they have left in them. So I think it'll be very interesting. I think that'll make this draft fun to do.
I agree.
So I'll go first. Number
Mhm.
one pick for me is the Yukon Huskies. With all that said, I'll pick Gino and the squad.
Yeah. Then I will counter that with I'll take Notre Dame.
Yeah, I sort of figured you would.
Yeah.
Lagoon Wale, Enrique back
Yep.
for the Irish.
Uh-huh. Can't bet against her.
And I just forgot her name. I was thinking about her earlier. I believe she is a senior now, transferred from Nebraska. I cannot remember her name, but
Oh,
post player that's expect a breakout year from her. At least
yep.
I do. So we'll snake it. You have next pick as well.
So I'm determining whether or not I wanna pick this next team as my second pick, just because I feel like you would end up picking them. Maybe not right now. Maybe you would wait till more into the season to pick them.
Mhm.
So I'll just go with it. I'll pick Iowa.
Okay. Yeah, and I would have had Iowa third on my list to pick. Megan Gustafson, who, if you've seen her play, you probably think she's the best post
Yeah.
in the country. If you haven't seen her play, you need to. Dominant force in the Big Ten, with the weapons around her now. If Davis stays healthy, if Meyer stays healthy on that Hawkeye team, it'll be very fun to watch them out of the Big Ten. I do plan to get to Iowa City this year, so hopefully have that poster hanging up behind me at some point this year. Good pick. My second pick will be Asia Doss and the Louisville Cardinals, a team that, I don't know, borderline powerhouse, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they've been there year in, year out for the last handful of years.
Yeah.
So they've moved up in that regard. Yeah, so third pick. I'm gonna have to think about this for just a second. Because I would have picked Iowa here, but instead I'll go with Maryland. Maryland will be my third pick.
All right.
Gonna get my Big Ten team there.
Yeah. What's making you pick them?
Big fan of Kayla Charles.
Okay.
She's a junior now. Again, she has the weapons, and it's going to be, in my opinion, it'll be between them and Iowa for the Big Ten championship. So a power conference where I think Maryland can get some wins early on, and then run through that conference fairly unscathed and on to the tournament.
All right. Well, then I will just take Oregon.
And I didn't plan to. So that team was all yours. I wasn't going to pick them. So.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
Mm-hmm.
There's something in me that really wants to pick Marquette. And I don't know why, but I don't know. I'm not ready yet. I'm not ready to commit to that team. They had a great season last season, but I think this is the year where it's kind of like they need to be consistent for me to pick them right now. Let's not overreact.
And I think a fairly good recruiting class as well. So
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Ooh. I'll go with Stanford.
Stanford, 2 Pac-12 teams to finish it out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so for my fourth pick, I've got 3 teams in mind. One I'm not going to pick, but looking at the roster, being a fan and following this team for the last handful of years because of their success in the Missouri Valley, they're due to make some sort of run. A team that has flirted with a single seed for those handful of years that I've followed, and that's the Drake Bulldogs, who are returning three seniors that have played since they were freshmen, put in valuable minutes. They're due for a run, and just a veteran-laden team that is due for some damage in the NCAA tournament. Sweet 16, Elite 8. One more win out of that, and I pick them here to get to the Final Four, but I'll leave them off my list. So down to 2. One of those teams is a team that advanced and won 3 games in the NCAA tournament last year, and that was North Carolina State, who also has a fairly good recruiting class coming in. So that's going to be a team I'm going to keep my eye on to possibly pick up. But instead of Drake, I am going to go with another Pac-12 team. So we're going to have 3 Pac-12 teams chosen. My Pac-12 team is the USC Trojans, not showing up on any top 25 rankings, picked to finish 7th in the Pac-12. But again, like I mentioned, a very wide open Pac-12, and point guard for USC, who's now a junior, Mignon Moore, a player to watch in the Pac-12. Keep your eye on her. If you're looking for a Jordan, Canada Part 2.
Oh.
Look no further than Pac-12 action this year, and that is more from USC. So keep your eye on her, keep your eye on the Trojans. We'll see how long they stay in my top 4, but right now, that'll round it out for me.
I don't even think they're not ranked, right? And they didn't even receive any votes.
No votes, barely received.
Ooh,
Yeah, and like I said,
right.
7th, I think, in the Pac-12.
Okay.
So second-year coach, we'll see if he finds his groove there, and I will keep my eye on them. So to recap that, Alyssa, you have Notre Dame, Iowa, Oregon, and Stanford. Mm-hmm. And I took Connecticut, Louisville, Maryland, and USC. I don't have the top 25 rankings up, but last year I was interested to see who was the first team that we didn't pick. I think it was I don't think either one of us picked Mississippi State or South Carolina, and they might have been like third and fifth ranked in the top 25. So
yeah, they were 4th and 7th.
4th and 7th.
Yeah. Drake did get a vote.
Drake got a vote.
Got a single vote.
There you go. It's a start.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that we've talked about doing, and I asked you if you had one ready for tonight, and if you don't, or I'll give you a minute to talk about it after I introduce the bit that we can do. So we've both experienced your own overreactions. Overreacting to stories, overreacting to games, overreacting to press conferences, moves made internally from a team or from a league. So that's something that we've thought would be a good idea to keep track of every week. It's very common for you to have some type of overreaction to one of those things that I just mentioned. And so from now on, we can have you bring one of those on the podcast. You can lay it out for us. And with no other explanation than just saying what it is, we can probably have some sort of leaderboard, right? And
yeah, there we go.
A list of overreactions, and I can have my opinion on those. So as we continue every Thursday night, feel free to bring your overreaction. We'll go over that. So if you want to think on that for just a minute, I can go ahead and go over the monthly daily report.
Yeah. Go for it.
Monthly daily report, and it's a simple one-liner this month, and that she was named the Houston Dash MVP, team MVP for this season. No doubts about that, no questions. Mm-hmm. That's pretty obvious. He was team MVP, and I'm sure we are all excited to see what's in store for her next year and beyond on the Dash team, or maybe elsewhere. Maybe
let's not talk about that. So I didn't really have an overreaction of the past week per se, but mm-hmm. I'll go with the overreaction that made me think about this segment of the podcast, and that was going back to qualifying for the World Cup when the U.S. took on Jamaica. My overreaction to going into that match was that Jamaica was going to get on the board first. For me, I only thought that because they had nothing to lose, right? I mean, going into it, why not start pressing? Why not press high? Why not get on our back line and just kind of go after it? Because, the U.S. is going to score a bunch of goals, so you might as well just go after it and see what happens. That clearly didn't happen. Score was 6-0. They didn't really press at all. From what I remember, they kind of just sat back and hung around just to see. I don't even know how many goals they could not let in. But yeah, that was the overreaction that kind of set this segment off. Or that's how this segment came about.
Okay, yeah. And so my comments to that would be, it's not terribly overreacting. I saw where you're coming from. But at the same time, usually the teams that do score first and score early, I don't know. I guess we both would have said, okay, USA is going to score a lot. Jamaica might Jamaica might score, but USA is going to score a lot.
Right.
And in those cases, it's usually US is up 2-3-0 before
Yeah.
a team like
Yeah.
Jamaica puts one
Right.
on the board, right?
Right.
So in that regard, but at the same time, agreeing with what you say about nothing to lose, go out there and try to score, play three in the back, and heck, even push them up to the center line. Let's rate that one as a from 1 to boring to 10 being Melissa with her head cut off running around the house. I'll put that as a 4. So
Okay.
we'll see week by week what other overreactions rank as. We'll put that as a 4 up on the leaderboard. So it's number 1 right now as the biggest overreaction by you, but I think it'll be thrown off fairly soon.
Yeah. I don't doubt that.
I'm sure we're due for some NWSL or
W
W.
League. Yeah. Yeah. We'll see after tonight.
Yeah. Speaking of W League, something that we teased a couple weeks ago, there are some changes that were made in the W League, some hopefully improvements to the league that will impact the players that enter the league, the fans that watch the league, and overall how the league is received worldwide. So I wanted to go through those 5, send you a picture of those 5, and to rank them from 1 to 5. And I guess I rate mine 1 to 5 based on the impact
Mhm.
of those changes, and thought about what would be best for the league and what would be least best for the league. I think they're all somewhat positive,
Mhm.
so I've rated them 1 through 5. Since I got to draft first, how about you
Mhm.
go first? And we can work backwards. So what is your your 5th of those?
F It was kind of a tie for me, um, but I'm just not sure how helpful Thursday night games are. I get the prime time aspect of it. So for me, that would be my last one, the least. I don't know if you
Yeah,
wanna say beneficial
yeah,
or
yeah.
not.
No, and I agree. So number 5 for me was the Thursday night game. Um, I was trying to, yeah, pro and con. My pro
Yeah.
was the prime time. That's what the pro
Right.
is.
Right.
My con for me is it shortened somebody's week, right? So you're talking
Right.
about
Yep.
less rest. So that would be my con for that.
Yep. I agree.
Your number 4?
Ah, Again, a tie. Um, I'm gonna go with the summer of football, pretty much to what you just said in terms of a con, and in that it's a lot. I did see though when I was kind of going through some things that they will have that FIFA break that's coming up. I do believe soon, but it's a lot, especially when you've got the World Cup coming up next summer. The players have already taken a rest from their previous matches. You have key players, really, in my mind, I guess, who have been injured, who have maybe gone through surgery so far and out of the W League season so far. And in my mind, I'm thinking of Kaya Simon and Steph Catley. They're both out or have been out. I don't know how long Steph has. As far as Kaya goes, I know that she's got an Achilles injury, and that's pretty much all that I know. I haven't seen starting lineups or subs available for tonight's match, so I'm not sure if Kaya will be back in that. So, I don't know, it's a lot. It's a lot to ask, especially if I know we've kind of mentioned this, does the NWSL season happen, which I think it does, um, but how many players actually play in that because of the World Cup? And maybe just taking a rest and saying, "Hey, I'm saving my body."
Mm-hmm. My number 4 was actually the salary cap increase,
Mhm.
moving from 300,000 to 350,000. And I have that there because, yeah, you're on the right track, right? Well, what we all want
Mhm.
to see, but how big of a step is it? I feel like it's more just a lean forward than a
Right.
step.
Yep.
And the W League has already been very impressively successful as far as getting players to come to the league and play. So they're already doing something right. And if they're worried about bumping up money, that's obviously not the big issue that's keeping players away, that they're going to go down there and play anyway. So, like I said, good thought, but leaning forward, not a huge step. So I put that at number 4 for me.
Yep. And my number 3 was that salary cap for the exact same reasons you just said.
Yeah, and then so we switched 3 and 4. My number 3 is the summer football, and yeah, the con of that, it's not great for the players that you're playing. It's 15 matches in 24 days is what's going on from the league standpoint. So there's your con. Your pro is from a fan standpoint.
Right.
I mean, that's great, right? You're it's one of those things where like in baseball, when you every night you turn on and you're watching a game. That's really cool to have happen. It's just a matter of not destroying your players.
Mm-hmm.
That was my 3.
Yeah. So my number 2 is the double headers. This one was probably the one where I would have been definitely okay with putting it at number 5. They did this last year, and I think from a team standpoint, they do a great marketing job of it. I'm not necessarily sure that it was beneficial per se last year, and maybe everyone's just kind of coming around to it this year. We'll see. We'll find out. There's one tonight, so we'll see if that happens. But it's for the City versus Sydney game is the doubleheader for tonight with the W League and the A League. But who's not going to want to go see City versus Sydney FC? So, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens with it, though.
Yeah, and I agree. Number 2 on my list was the same thing, the doubleheader before the men's match. It's well, actually, sort of something. It is something that Wisconsin soccer has done. They played the girls' game before the guys' game, and the thought is hopefully that the people show up early and they go to watch the girls' game too, right? So, yeah, it's a nice gesture, but sort of piggybacking, right, and not in a great way, and not in a way that makes you feel good about yourself.
Yeah, that's
what I'd say about that.
Yeah, I feel you there.
So then your number 1, even though I know what it is
watching every game, being able to watch every game.
Yeah, in theory is what I put.
Yeah,
being able to watch every game. So, and is that confirmed? Were you able to look into finding?
So I wasn't able to find much, but and I wish I would have saved this site because I did find it maybe about a week ago before the season started, saying that they were streaming it on YouTube, but I haven't been able to find any evidence towards that. I do believe ESPN Plus is only showing about 17 matches, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll be able to catch those there. But for whatever reason, I thought I saw YouTube. But so hasn't been confirmed, at least for us in the US. For those in Australia, they can see every single match. Just a matter of if we can or not. Which is good.
Yeah, and I'll say that for me, watching every game, that's number 1 as far as impact goes. Quick update on the NWHL. Paying attention to those standings, the Minnesota Whitecaps in their first season in the league, just 6-0 plus 14 goal differential. So it's I don't know. I'm sure we'll get into that, into thinking about the league's adoption of that team. What does it mean for the league? How is this going to play out if they continue this dominance? And we saw this from the team last year, right? Boston was undefeated for half the season, so and that sort of balanced out. Will this balance out? We'll see if that happens, and if not, we'll talk about it either way, I guess, so you understand how big of an impact the Whitecaps have had on the NWHL. So we'll keep our eye on that. Other things going on, the National Pro Fast Pitch League. They added a team just a couple of days ago. This was shocking when I was checking Twitter to see that a team had been added, and not only a professional team added to the league that they were going to be playing in Marion, Illinois, which is Southern Illinois. There's a minor league baseball team that plays there, an independent baseball team, and the stadium is unreal. And that's one of the reasons why this team decided to go there. Artificial turf, they can just take the mound off and turn it into a softball field, bring the fence in. So just a great place to have it. I hope people show up. The baseball team, they're called the Miners, and they lead that league in attendance every year by a long shot. So it'll be very interesting and hopefully very cool to see that area embrace this professional team, which will feature most of the Canadian national team. They are called the Canadian Wild of Southern Illinois. So that's a different way to go about things. It's related to the Australian team and the Asian team that is also playing in the league. So it'll be featuring Canadian national players, and that makes it 6 teams in the NPF again.
Yeah. Give me an idea of where Marion, Illinois is.
Marion, Illinois is straight down. Now, what interstate is that? Not 39. No, it's southern. So for me, I go down south. I hop onto I-70. I-70 takes me from Terre Haute, Indianapolis to St. Louis is where I-70 goes.
Yeah.
Once you're directly in the center of Illinois, then you head straight south. Like I actually have a map right there.
All the way south?
Marion is like right there.
That's crazy.
Right in the center, yeah. So the article I was reading was talking about how this team's going to use Southern Illinois, SIUE Carbondale's facilities for training, and I believe they're going to live very close to the facilities.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting to see how that works. Have a couple friends down there that I don't know if I'll ever see them there, but I might have to check in to see how the scene is down there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any thoughts about that? What that says about the league? I'm assuming they're having success with this, bringing in international players, right?
Yep.
And I don't believe this is going to be permanent. This will either be a 1 or 2 year deal in Marion, depending on how the first year goes. And then it sounds like they're going to try to move this team around. Any thoughts on what this says about the league?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much what you said in terms of they have to be doing well in order to be bringing kind of essentially an outside team into the States for this. And then in terms of moving them around, it kind of speaks to what you had brought up. Maybe this was last summer, somewhere along those lines of, why don't we try playing softball games or MPF games all over the country and see what happens in terms of, instead of just going to home matches per se, let's move it around the country and see what happens. So maybe this is kind of their way of doing that. But I think if it's successful, why would you want to move it?
Right.
I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yeah,
we'll find out. And pretty cool now, I guess you could call Illinois the state of softball with Chicago Bandits and Canadian Wild of Southern Illinois here in the same state. So that's pretty cool. And I have no other option but to get to at least one of their games next summer. So I'll make sure to do that. Let's see, other things. You got anything else?
No, sir.
Okay. Big weekend of college soccer as the conference tournaments wrap up. Our Badgers are on the bubble. So hoping that all the top seed teams in the conference tournaments are able to win. And hopefully other teams' bubbles burst as the Badgers wait 4 seed in the conference, but got beat last weekend. So now we wait till selection Monday, which is a week from next Monday. So we'll keep our eye on that. We'll have our thoughts before and definitely after, fill out a bracket, all that fun stuff with the college soccer tournament. So looking forward to that. But yeah, I think most games are on ESPN3 or some version of the SEC Network, ACC
Yep.
Network, ESPN Plus. Also, keep your Twitter tuned in to Chris Henderson. He'll keep you updated with the brackets, his predictions. Fortunately, my connection on the soccer team has some into the NCAA board, so we'll see if I get any updates there. But nice to have some scoop from the inside.
Yep.
If you don't, like I said, Chris Henderson, good source to follow on Twitter, and he'll have you updated, posted on all the scores, all the winnings, and who gets in and who doesn't. So keep your eyes there. And other than that, we've checked everything else off my list. So as long as you're all set,
Mm-hmm.
all good. Okay. Well, then we'll probably plan on being here again next Thursday. And if we are, we'll talk to you then from Pod 9. Thanks for watching.